They had a man named Jerome, who they later named Saint Jerome. And they gave him the privilege and the honor of electing and selecting the Christian canon. Canon means the Christian writings or Christian books. He collected hundreds of books and letters, and those that he decided to keep in are what we have today. And those that he rejected are known as the lost books of the Bible. He was later named and made Saint Jerome because of this. Amongst his books, he started with over 18 different epistles, and he had 4 gospels. The great contradiction is that they did everything to try to create a Christian canon. You have 4 different gospels and 4 different descriptions of the same thing, but they're all different. For example, if you read the New Testament, you will read about 4 different revelations of the so-called death of Christ, the resurrection of Christ. If you read each book, they have a different story, and each story contradicts each other. And if one of them is the truth, common sense would stand that the other 3 would have to be a lie. Possibly all of them are a lie, but you know 3 of them are a lie. That's like if we had in the Old Testament 4 different stories of Jonah and the whale, and they're all different. Well, we know only one of them could be a truth. The other 3 would have to be a lie. And this is how they got the New Testament, and people accepted this during a period of time along with the Bible or the Old Testament. The Almighty's book, the Holy Scriptures, they changed the name to the Old Testament and put it in the front of their book. And in the back of their book, they put what they call the New Testament. If you went to a Jewish synagogue, you don't see any New Testament. It was never part of their literature, and they never accepted what the Gentiles put in. But by our people believing that we were Gentiles and we are Gentiles, we were glad to accept the Gentile teaching, because they told us that we're the Gentiles and we were rejected, but Christ came and included us in his plan of salvation. And right now, we can get through the gate because Christ has removed the veil. And now we can get through. He has died for us. And so right now, all black folks love Christ because they think Christ is the one that gave them their salvation. They think Christ is the one that died for them. And they believe this because this is what the enemy taught them. And I've often said the greatest criticism I have for our people is that we have relied on the same people that mistreated us to teach us. And common sense will tell you that if a man won't treat you right, he won't teach you right. And that New Testament came from the man that the Most High told us was wicked. The one that the Most High told us all through the Holy Scriptures was evil. And this is who presented to us this New Testament. And this book has no historical validity at all. It has no spiritual purity at all. It is not pure. It has come to us straight from the hand of the man that the Creator told us to stay away from. That's the reason everything in the New Testament is a total contradiction against his words. Total contradiction. And not only does the New Testament contradict the words of Yahweh, the greater part of the New Testament contradicts the words of Christ. They actually are not teaching what he taught, which brings us into another part of our conversation. How does Christ fit into our salvation? Who is Christ? According to the Most High, the Creator tells us that we should worship him and him only. The greatest sin that can be committed is for our people to worship someone else other than Yahweh. That sin is called idolatry. That sin, idolatry, is referred to in the Holy Scriptures as the great sin, because there is no sin greater than that. The Almighty is so jealous that his first commandment is, I am Yahweh, thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. His second commandment is so great that that commandment says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, the earth beneath, or the waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For Yahweh the Elohim is a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, but showing mercy upon thousands of them that love me and keep my commandment. His third commandment is, thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh Elohim in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. And then the Creator has another commandment that's not listed within the confines of the 10 commandments. And in that commandment, he told us to be circumspect of this particular law. And you will find that in the book of what, gentlemen? Exodus. And what chapter? 23. And what verse? 13. Let's go there. And look what a harsh warning the Creator tells us in this chapter. Creator says his word is so plain that a fool should not err therein. The people are erring every day, not because of the ability or the inability to not be able to comprehend the words of the Most High, but they're erring because they refuse to even listen to what the Creator says. Most Christians, if you ask them to quote one verse where it said, thus said Yahweh, they couldn't do it, because that's not who they made their Savior. It's not who they made their master. You ask them what Paul said, they can talk to you all day. But say, give me one verse where it said, thus said Yah, if you can remember what Yah said. According to Exodus 23:13, it says,
And in all things.
That means all things, everything considered, and in all things that I've said unto you, be circumspect.